When I sit across from the CEO of TMC, a man that said to me, we transact on love, how you're trying to leverage that to give people an opportunity to own and to actually scale a business, there's no other place I would rather be. We want to transact on love. We follow that lead that you set.
T.
D.
Taurean Gordon, what's going on, man?
Man, I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I love
Thanks for
it.
having me, man.
Good morning. It's a little special, right? In that one, it's a very fun conversation we're going to have today, but it's also a substitute episode where usually this is Mayra sitting in this seat. So she's allowed me the opportunity to take over an episode. So I'm going to try my best not to butcher this too bad, but you're also on the hook with me. So
I'm with you.
Stakes are high. No pressure.
I mean, you're not really Mayra, but we're going to work with you today.
Apologies in advance. So we usually open up Cafecito with, what are you drinking? What do you have in your cup? Mayra's a big coffee person, and that's kind of the big thing. I know you're not a coffee person, so I'm hoping you tell the truth about what you have in your TMC Community Capital mug over there.
So I didn't know you were going to call out my cup. But what I'm sipping on is some coconut water that's flavored with pineapple. I like to be on an island. So that's my sipper for today. My wife is the coffee drinker. I can't go down that path.
Island vibes.
Island vibes.
With it. Well, we've done way too long of an introduction without actually giving you an introduction. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where you're from? What are you doing here today?
So I'm a husband. I'm a father, man of God. And I'm from New Jersey. So from New Jersey, ended up serendipitously in Atlanta as a Morehouse grad and found this path through real estate and finance that brought my family to the West Coast. And what we're doing now is trying to rebuild communities. I learned about the Black Wall Street while I was in college and it's never been able to shake it. So California's been this space that I feel like the weather's nice, island vibes, that we can build. So we're here in California meeting with incredible people like you.
As I've gotten to know you a little bit over the last few months, traveling has been kind of consistent with you and your family. Can you speak a little bit about some of the trips that you've been on and kind of what that has been like spiritually for you?
That's a good question. Growing up, we would always do a family trip to Virginia Beach. And every time we would go over this bridge, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, my father would tell me, this is the longest bridge in the world, 26 miles of just connecting one world to the other. So trips have always been this family connection time. And I've never really thought about it like that till you just asked the question. What trips have been for us now is this insight to the world. Whether we're in Bali and practicing 24 hours of silence, in Tortola, going back to where my wife is from, in Jamaica, where we want to hear a little island talk, right? We like to go see the world and see places that are rooted in culture as we try to understand this culture that we're living in the United States.
Man. How's that with the family? Because not just you and your wife, like you're bringing a whole kind of family with you. What's that like when you're hitting the road?
Now that we at like question 3 or 4, I'm gonna have to be honest now, Daniel. I'm so tired of you, okay? It's almost as if we rehearsed this, but in reality, we didn't. We're taking our son out of school and we're starting world schooling right now.
Oh, wow.
So what that's been as we moved from New York to California, and I didn't realize I was ripping my wife away from her family. So everyone was cool with it, excited. They would come to California. But when it became a time where her family could live around the corner like they do now, they all started crying because it was something that we lost when we left New Jersey.
Wow.
So now to answer your question, what's world schooling and world traveling look like? To me, it looks like a migration of a people all together. It's commune living where we have several safe havens across the diaspora. And most people see that as a vision or as a tagline versus something that we've always done. So traveling for us is finding home, finding people that welcome us with open hearts, and we share our love and move to the next spot and keep doing that and allowing our son to see the mountains that are on the other side of the world, the oceans, the different waters, the different sounds and tongues. Traveling has become our exposure to what this beautiful planet is.
You touch on something, and I want to kind of harp on it and run back to it around like it's time to build, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that with a family means something, but also as you go into business and multiple endeavors, right? I have a question here that says, could you tell a little bit, can you tell our listeners a bit about your personal journey and what inspired you to pursue your career in media and community engagement? For me, that runs back about that idea to build. It also, the whole like, can you share to our listeners, like who writes these, right? Who's writing this? And I want to be mad, but like I wrote it. So for all 27 of our listeners right now, you know what I mean? Like, can you enlighten us? But the question is legit. What's it like? You know, your personal journey. How did you get here? Why media? And why an insistence on community when wanting to build?
I got here on the shoulders of my parents, so many mentors, so many people that just decided to take time to just say, hey, I'm exploring all these concepts that easily, if I wanted to say, looking back, it looks like it was this perfect straight line. I got here after I graduated, the market crashed and I was doing real estate development. I happened to meet an incredible woman that was doing management consulting. And I got on a project that at the time seemed like, wow, this is crazy. I'm working all-nighters. I'm in the middle of New Jersey after coming from Atlanta. And that took me internationally for doing consulting for Bristol Myers Squibb. That international experience made me a person with international experience, which took me to California. And I'd say I've just been graced. Like it's really been the grace of God. It's really been a family that has always told me I can be whatever I want. And what I found now at 40, to say that this is my 40th year, is I came to discover that we hear that line of you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. My family, I come from a family of homesteaders. I come from a family of church builders. And we don't talk like that. We don't say that's what we do. I just know we had a family reunion and all the houses are where we stayed, and across the street was the church we went to. And now I have the language to understand that, wait, I have a great-great-grandfather that homesteaded this land so that his great-great-grandchildren, my grandmother, would live in those homes.
Wow.
So how I got here is through generations before us that had a vision, and now why media? Media becomes that way that we can actually articulate what it is we're doing and really give a blueprint for how we can create community. Media is perception. Perception is reality. And I don't like the perception of what's being put out on who we are and what we can do. So creating media became important. It's don't complain about it if you're not going to do something about it. And I think there's a lot of brilliant people that we can show the world the possibilities of what you can be.
I love that. Only because I've gotten to know you a little bit, and that is a consistent kind of core idea to the way that you operate. And so we're having this high-level conversation about your journey and media and community engagement, but we haven't dropped what the what is. So what is Brick TV?
See, I'm glad you say that, because our network says that a lot. I suck at that. Like, market, say what you do, talk about it versus just doing it. Brick TV, I think of it as, it is a streaming platform. It is intentionally called the Brick TV because we're building communities one brick at a time. It is the media arm that allows us to edutain ourselves. So if you want to learn how to do finance, we could do that in a fun way. If you want to learn the lessons of The Wire, the explorations of Meteor Man, the possibilities of coming to America, the thing that I've always wanted to see is, I feel like Spider-Man and Batman get about 2 to 3 at-bats per year for reinvesting on how we're going to tell that story. I want to reinvest on how we tell the story of Meteor Man, how we tell the story of how we got here, how we learn about Mansa Musa, how we learn about a golden age of love. And as opposed to waiting for my favorites, HBO, FX, big ups to them.
Right.
Why don't we take that inspiration and go create content that shows it? Our own Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Really see our queen. So that's the why for our subscription platform, the Brick TV.
Cheers to the why. I love that. Okay. Yeah. It's the first time on camera anyone's ever cheered with coconut water.
It won't be the last.
Splash of pineapple.
You have to have the pineapple. You need that little sweetness in there.
Oh. You probably want to cut that out. So then what inspired you to found not only a streaming platform, but something as intentional as Brick TV, and what sets it apart from other media companies?
I've always been a movie head. I tell my wife gets tired of me saying this, I speak in movies and in walls. I feel like movies represent the possibilities. It allows your brain to imagine these imaginary worlds, the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
The walls are, well, let's now go create what we were inspired by. So a lot of the things I want to build in order to get people to move on that physical world of what we can do, they're able to comprehend it when you show it to them in a movie or you show it in a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So we started with that so that one, we could just show what already exists and then go and do the real work of action.
How important is the connection between Brick TV's offering and its audience?
Brick TV won't be anything without its audience. So it's our buy-in. I feel like it's the easy first step. We all watch something. We all subscribe to something. It's, do you want to feed yourself with the possibilities of what you can be and what the generations after you can be? And it's a place where you actually have a voice. So we ask our fans, hey, what movies do you want? What content do you want to see? We don't take the IP from the content providers that put content on our platform. Friday is one of my favorite comedies, right? In terms of what it's been, the evolution of it. Next Friday rather, became how we moved to a Rancho Cucamonga that I didn't even know was a real place, that you always have something smart to say.
I figured. Now it makes so much sense.
I'm the king around here, right?
It's tea in a movie theater, Rancho Cucamonga. I want to live there.
Do you want to be in LA or you want to come out the rancho where the mountains are?
I want to be in LA for the record. Randy's Donuts, 45-minute traffic.
Now, we do have a good New York pizza spot now in Rancho. I will say that.
I'm not hating on Rancho.
Rancho
for the record.
But going back to just that synergy of it, I know there's been a lot of talk on, will Cube do a Friday 4? And he has to go ask someone for the rights for the movie that he created and sold. And it showed a way of, hey, you can make movies that are original, but I want people to make their content and hold on to it, make the royalties, but always have control over what narrative you want to tell tomorrow, what length you want to tell it. I talk about Insecure. We watched so much of that. Her fan base, I remember in like the 3rd or 4th season, started asking, can it now be an hour long? But she was locked into 30 minutes. We don't want to have any borders. We want people to come create and do the magic of what they can do on our platform. And that's what really differentiates us, that we don't tell brilliant people what to do. We give them a space to show our brilliance and not push a narrative that we have a plan for.
So I guess on that note, then everything from a recruitment level to subscriptions to overall outlook, the part that I know is also really important to you is the community involvement.
Mm-hmm.
And so inserting that as an aspect into all media projects, what impact do you hope to achieve through that focus on community involvement through your guys' media?
When you think about how can media become a community and a physical representation, I think about go visit Warner Brothers Studios, go to Disney World, which is a Disney product that starts from a Disney streaming platform. And then from a more recent, like go to Tyler Perry Studios. So in this case, I see that we can create real worlds that people live in, that we also film in, where you could live, work, and play. So that part of, one, creating real environments that are studios that you actually live in is one. Two, it's most people get to see who's in front of the camera. There's a lot of people that have no idea of all the brilliance that's sitting behind the cameras and how many jobs and opportunities are there. I'm listening to how this team is leveraging technology to make this efficient, and who's aspiring to be the one holding the camera that Denzel is sitting in front of versus all trying to fight to be called it a Denzel. So that opportunity for job creation, for giving people the means to travel the world and take care of their family, is how we can take this media and really make it a community impact.
Now we're talking community, right? And so we're here, Cafecito, TMC Community Capital.
Big ups to TMC.
Shout out, that's love. What drew you to want to collaborate with us, right? You know, how do you see Brick TV's mission, aligning with what you know about community capital and the way that we see community and the way that we feel, building is kind of the future for community involvement.
Well, I'm going to say again why I'm tired of you, because now you set me up to show the world how much I love you. And one of the first things that you said to me through your eyelashes batting at me, smiling, and the love that you exude. I had to tell my wife he smells good too, okay? Why TMC? When I look at that must stay in this take just to make sure this is all null and void. When I sit across from the CEO of TMC, a man that said to me, we transact on love, and listen to the means and the financial know-how coming from private equity and knowing how to structure deals, how you're trying to leverage that to give people an opportunity to own and to actually scale a business. There's no other place I would rather be. We want to transact on love. We follow that lead that you set.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you. It's really important to us, right? You want to be able to be seen for your strategic outlook, but when your strategy aligns with the work of not only your team, but the community that you're working for, feels like a moment, right? And so when you capture those moments with people who also see it that way, you got to run with it. Momentum begets momentum, right? And I think that's what I've always felt, at least with our relationship. And as this partnership has come together, it's been a beautiful thing. So I appreciate the acknowledgement.
Would you like to do a cheers to this coconut water again?
Absolutely not, but I will. That's love. Thank you. Can you discuss the potential benefits and challenges of collaborating with organizations that prioritize community impact? It's not easy, right? It's a hard thing to try to capture. You got big media, you have these opportunities. How do you keep that at the middle of it?
I say the challenge that an organization like TMZ presents when the heart has to be at the center of what you're doing, not the ROI, but there needs to be ROI. The challenge is accepting that it's real. It's something I've been looking for my whole life, where everyone that we talk to says they want to do something for the community, but really it's checking a box. When it comes down to it, when the doors close and the cameras go off, it's now about the ROI. It's about the project. It's about whatever initiative they wanted. So the biggest part in this was accepting that this is a real thing. Like, we're here, we're not alone. Everything is one, as we've always said to each other. Seeing that is the hardest part, because I think most of us are used to feeling like we're alone. And to now really accept the fact that we're not alone, that everything I've been planning and wanting to do, you already have, and you've already been creating. It's like, wait a minute, this is what community really feels like. To fight for something so long and it be right in front of your face, that's one of the hardest parts of success that people don't talk about, that it's right here. And as the song Here is Holy, and that's what it feels like, to just be connected. So that's been the hardest part. And then having that accountability with you, it's like, no, you struggling today, I got your back. Yeah. And when I'm struggling, you got mine. It's nothing better.
Oh, that's love. You said something earlier, and I've been trying to find a way to organically insert it into our conversation, but there's no way, but it's an important thing. And it was something to the effect of someone saying that you can do all things, right? And how important it is when someone kind of puts that battery on your back to be like, you got this, or you can do this, or whatever you want to do, it's achievable, right? And so I imagine having a little one that you're taking out of school, that has to be at the core of that idea, right? It's like, you can be bigger, you can dream bigger, and to take that and then put that macro size battery in a community as you try to do, really large work. It's powerful, man. And I don't mean that in the sense of like a buzzword, but just not everybody sees the world that way. So I love that not only do you have that approach, but again, as someone with a family, like, there's something so beautiful around that. The inspiration for that comes essentially from a conversation between a father and his son, saying you can be all things. And that's just...
Man, I really appreciate that. Yeah. And that's the big part. That's the big frustration, I feel like, in this love community, that a person tries to put you in a box where it's try to articulate all the things that you do that I know you've done in this path, your musical path, your financial path, your sports path, your hey, you also don't want to see this man with some gloves on path either, right? I feel like when I look at you, and I know when you look at me, we are all things. And like, that's what really love feels like the freedom to see your flow. Let love be the water, as my wife. I should say that was B. I apologize, baby. It was B. But to flow in that with you it's a great honor, man.
So in your opinion, T, what role does media and storytelling play in advancing economic equity and the social justice initiatives that we know about, particularly in underserved communities? Whether New Jersey, you have projects in Nevada, Hawaii, here we are in California, Southern California, Los Angeles. How do you view it?
I'm married to a woman that reads 5 books concurrently at all times. There's a book sitting in every bathroom. There's a couple audio books, and then we have our shelves of books. And historically, you realize the power of reading, which is why in this country, we weren't allowed to read. There's so many answers in reading. What's the power of media? As technology has now taken those words and given you a physical representation of what those words are from some producer or cameraman or woman's perspective, I feel like media is the entryway back to the books. And if you've read Harry Potter versus watching it, or if you've watched The Martian versus reading it, you realize that as incredible of a job media can do, it can never do the job of your imagination when you read those words yourself. So the role I see media playing is just reminding you of how many books and how much knowledge is available versus centering your thoughts on what they want you to see. So media in this, as we continue to move forward and forward with technology and 3D representations of things, will completely shape your understanding of what's possible. So it's a proctor in a classroom, it's the principal in a schoolroom. It has, at times, the largest audience imaginable. So it's everything.
I'll cheers to that.
Brother,
yeah, I'll take it 3 times. Yeah.
What is it? You want to try it?
I do not, for the record.
Your violence is it's on record. Your violence is on record now.
We're approaching the end of our conversation.
Already?
Doesn't have to be that way, but we're running out of pineapple juice. But we've discussed the importance of community empowerment, the access to resources, your take on media and how it can affect a community at a macro level, given Brick TV's commitment to serving the community, and our shared goals with TMC in fostering financial literacy and education, and ultimately access around capital for entrepreneurship. Are you able to share any exciting developments or upcoming initiatives for Brick TV that our audience might be interested in?
Well, that might be a thing or two, right? When we first started doing this and we talked about wanting to film and capture businesses, we had this whole visual of see that small business as, I'll use Entourage as an example. It's how you learned about the dope cafe, how you learned about the cool spot to go hang out at. It's the power of media yet again. And we wanted to take this visual of, well, let's get local businesses and show what it's like to work with them, see the type of food they serve, see the clothing they make, see the people you should be listening to because they have very intriguing stories. We, at that time, thinking we were alone, we're like, okay, we're going to find these businesses. We're going to film it all. We're going to put something beautiful out. What we're excited to announce is Beyond the Hustle with TMC. TMC captured that very story. And when we saw the trailer of what that looked like, it's like seeing your thoughts and your dreams manifested right before you. And we're honored to be a home of that. We're honored to have a lot more to share together. We'll talk about, should we talk about Real Fest? Should we talk about what's to come? How far you want to go down this road, Daniel? That's what I want to know. It's a lot. How much time do we have?
Again, we're out of pineapple juice, so not that much longer. But at the same time, thank you. And that's huge for us. Just from at its infancy, thinking about taking contrarian approach to financial education, right? You've oftentimes heard TMC talk about, the way that we want to leverage technology to create a user experience for the underserved community that isn't lesser than, right?
Mm-hmm.
We think the same way about education and financial literacy, to the point to where we don't want to call it financial literacy. I don't believe that in the communities that we're in, we're financially illiterate. It's just literally a different world, right? And so the way that we have to approach day to day as a business owner is different than what it looks like in another community. And so when we were tasked with thinking about how we were going to project our version of technical assistance and financial education, it was a bit of a realization around we have to meet people where they are. And not in the sense of being a buzzword, but where are they? They're on YouTube. You're on your phone. You don't necessarily have, as a business owner, 2 to 3 hours for 8 weeks to pop up at a workshop and learn about digital marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be dope if we could get a business that was really successful in digital marketing, shoot it, make it look fly, and get all of the data points that you would get in a 2-week workshop and package it and put it online for folks to digest in a way that is mad real? We took our shot. For you to say, we love that, we want that at Brick TV, can you do more of that for us? Who else can we bring into the fold? It's a huge win for us because we didn't know how it was going to land, right? People were looking at us like we're crazy. I say us, and usually it's me, right? But it's super meaningful because it allows us to not only disseminate information and democratize capital and education, but now it's like the voices that you get to uplift are your local entrepreneur, the grassroots organizations that maybe could use the boost with philanthropy or additional investments, or are a resource hub that maybe folks don't quite know about. You start to expand your reach in a way that isn't pastel, isn't cookie cutter, isn't seeming extractive. It's totally deploying community in a super organic way.
Yeah.
And so from the bottom of my heart and our team, it's a thank you, because we didn't know where it was going. We wanted it to be adopted and seen as something that could grow. And it feels like a first of its kind type of partnership, right?
Yeah.
We're at CDFI, right? We're a community development financial institution.
I was going to say, CDFI. What is a CDFI?
Well, when we do it, we're a CDF fly, because your boys got, we try to do it.
It's about the shoes, brother.
But it's like a fresh approach around community, around capital, right? But also around education. And so all that to say, a nonprofit organization with that mission, partnering with a media company to create content for business and entrepreneurs and education, what is life? Like, that's crazy. But you've seen us, you've co-signed us, and we're going to have a really, really good time.
The CEO of the National Association of Black Accountants was on a panel with some partners of a lot of the big accounting firms, right? And she said, okay, let's do a quick test. So I want you to take how many CFOs across the US that you can think of. Could be American Express, can be McDonald's, can be any of those. And say to them, let me hold 20 right quick. Most people have no idea what that means. Whereas in our community, you'd be like, I don't have $20 for you, right? You are giving us the ability to speak to ourselves in our own language. And we have a language in which we understand finance. It's just we need to speak in our language. And when they talk about, let me hold 20 right quick, that 20 was screaming in my ear as something to say as another announcement for us with this is that 20% of all subscriptions that we get, we put into nonprofits. It's about recirculating the dollar. And in order to do that as a community, we're starting with that as our media company. So with this, as part of our Beyond the Hustle, beyond the action, beyond the show, for every subscription that we get, we're going to put 20% of that into TMC Capital because we really believe in what you're doing. Let's build together.
That wasn't on script.
You said you didn't even review that script, so I said, let's go.
Oh, that's love, man. I appreciate it. so much. Man, thanks for being here. Thank you. Real Flex, presented by Brick TV, September 12th. Woo! Los Angeles, year 2. And to the moon, man. We say at Community Capital, if not us, then who? We're happy to add you to that list, man. You're rocking with us and we love it. So
It's a pleasure.
Brick TV, TMC.
Let's get it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's love.